today. We're going to get into all of it on NFL Live. The Chiefs have locked up guard Trey Smith on a long-term deal right before the franchise tag extension deadline hit. But that is not all. We heard today from Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin. He is not happy. He says he won't play unless he gets a new deal. And just moments ago, cornerback Sauce Gardner got a long-term extension from the Jets. So, you know, just a regular slow Tuesday, off-season Tuesday in the NFL. Here to talk about all of that, I'm Dan Graziano. Here to talk about all that, we have Tim Hasselbeck, we have Booger McFarland here, and we have our brand new ESPN NFL Nation Chiefs reporter, Nate Taylor. Nate, you started on what, Thursday? Was your first day with the company?
Yeah, I started on Thursday.
Let's throw you right in here.
Let's do it.
What more can you tell us about the Trey Smith deal in Kansas City?
This deal had to be done on both parties, in my opinion, and what it ultimately does is it completes the Chiefs' offseason. We saw what happened in the Super Bowl against Philadelphia. Patrick Mahomes was sacked a career-high 6 times, but the Chiefs, knowing that they have to beef up their offensive line, well, they need Trey Smith because he was entering the league in 2021 the last time the Chiefs overhauled their offensive line. So you don't want a player to play on the franchise tag if you want to keep him long-term. Trey Smith was a 6th-round pick who dealt with blood clot issues, a diagnosis in 2018, and now he is the highest paid interior offensive lineman in NFL history. It's a massive day for him, but it's also a successful day for the Chiefs because Patrick Mahomes put a little smiley face on X to tell you how much it's important to him to be protected for the offense to be successful this season. Yeah,
it would have been a $23.4 million franchise tag if they hadn't done a deal, but they get the deal done before the deadline. Smith has sustained 95.6% of his pass blocks for at least 2.5 seconds. That is the 4th best mark of any active offensive lineman since Smith entered the NFL in 2021. Teammate Creed Humphrey, who got paid earlier this offseason, tops the list just ahead of former teammate, now Bear, Joe Thuney. So, Tim Hasselbeck, obviously the Chiefs have been making the interior of their offensive line a priority for the last few years. How important was it for them to get this deal done today?
Yeah, I think it's a big deal. I think it's a sign of like why the Chiefs are so good. Look, Trey Smith, we just heard, he had blood clot issues coming out of Tennessee. If he didn't have those health concerns, he'd been a 1st-round pick, maybe a 2nd-round pick. He'd been a high pick. So they've had him, basically at a discounted cost. His health issues behind him. He's been good in pass pro. He's been extremely physical in the run game. And look, I think it's just another example of the Chiefs doing a good job drafting. And then also, when you think about just the confidence with the group, they draft, at tackle early on in this past year's draft. They re-sign guys that they have. They do let some guys out the door. But you almost just have to trust the plan that Andy Reid has in place. A little bit like, at least I used to feel about New England, when you'd be like, really, those are the receivers that they're bringing back this year? And then you'd look up and it was like David Patton goes for 6 scores by halfway through the season. I think it's a very similar kind of situation in Kansas City. Like, you just have to trust that what they've done up front, what they've done at wide receiver, because of who they're being coached by and because of who their quarterback is typically enough for them.
And it just creates stability on the offensive line. Joe Thuney's no longer there, so now you look at Creed Humphrey, you look at Trey Smith, the stability on the interior of the offensive line is what they need. And when Patrick Mahomes gets in Super Bowls, guys, if he's protected, they win.
Exactly.
And I think if you're Brett Veach and you're Andy Reid, you got to do everything you can to make sure the interior of the offensive line is set. We know they got some question marks at tackle. We'll see how that goes in training camp and throughout the preseason, but you have to have some mainstays, some stability, some core pieces. And Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, 2 of their core pieces are now locked up. And I think if you're a Chiefs fan, you got to feel really good that you have a guy who's one of the better young football players in the National Football League locked up. And quite frankly, this has been a long time coming. As was stated earlier, he should have been a 1st-round pick, dealt with some health issues. So this is one of the more not only team-friendly deals, but just throughout the league, a lot of people are smiling because Trey should have got paid a long time ago, and he finally gets what's coming to him now.
So they good now, and they've moved on from Tooney. Maybe a Lurky at left tackle. Still some questions to answer on that offensive line.
Oh, of course, and that's another reason why you had to get this deal done with Trey Smith, because he's the player that you actually know is a known commodity alongside Creed Humphrey. We will see what Josh Simmons does, the first-round pick in training camp. He is in a competition battle with Jalen Moore, the veteran from San Francisco, and you also have Kingsley Suamataia, the guy that they thought were going to be the left tackle of the future. Well, they're sliding him to left guard. You still have Jawan Taylor, a very good veteran at right tackle, at least for one more year, and so now it's about, can the rest of the offense come together if the offensive line is more stable than what we saw last year? And one more thing, based on Sauce Gardner's deal today, the Chiefs will now shift their focus to all-pro cornerback Trent McDuffie, who you could argue has been the more productive player. Can they get a deal done with, you know, Trent McDuffie before training camp, before the regular season starts?
There's always another deal
Yes,
to
there
do.
is.
He is Nate Taylor. He's our new Chiefs reporter. You're going to be seeing plenty of him. But we have breaking news elsewhere in the NFL coming down this afternoon out of Washington. Wide receiver Terry McLaurin, who sat out of mandatory minicamp as he looks for a new contract. Well, he had this to say to the media today.
I've been pretty frustrated, I'm not going to lie. You know, everything that has transpired up until this point has just been disappointing and frustrating. You know, I've wanted to continue my career here. I've created my life here. You know, my wife and I have bought our first home here. So this has been somewhere where I've always wanted to be. I haven't decided that yet. I'm trying to take things day by day. And, you know, I think that's the disappointing part, where I was hoping up until this point things would clear up a lot more than they have.
We are absolutely loaded today with special guests. This is our Commanders reporter, John Keim. All the NFL Nation reporters are here for meetings this week. It's been wonderful, and they're here to help us out with NFL Live today. So, John, when you hear that from Terry McLaurin, what do you make of it?
So there were a couple things that stood out to me, Graz. One, he spoke for about 30 minutes. That's a long time, and most of it was about the frustration over the pace of negotiations. No talks for about the past month. So that's one thing. He reiterated that he wants to be here. It's where he has a lot of value. They value him. But the other two big things, Graz, that he addressed, the age issue. He's going to turn 30 in September. It's an age where receivers start to slow down. But he's only been in the league 7 years. He doesn't have the same wear and tear that maybe some other receivers at that age do. Then the other part is he talked a little bit, or certainly enough, about what he went through in the past here. I think anybody who's an NFL fan knows what this franchise was like prior to Josh Harris arriving. Terry McLaurin was the face of the franchise then, a team leader, respect in the locker room. But if you're the new group, I think you're probably looking more at, okay, that's great, but what's the value going forward?
Yeah. Booger?
Well, the value going forward is going to be that you have a young quarterback who you're looking to make a nice jump from year one to year two in Jaden Daniels, and you want to create stability. You've already come in and brought Laramie Tunsil on the offensive line. So you're trying to surround this young quarterback with protection and playmakers, and there's no better playmaker on your team than Terry McLaurin. Now, is he Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase when it comes to the $40 and $35 million a year? That's for the GM to decide. But I know this. Terry McLaurin is a top 10 receiver in the National Football League. And if you look at what they're making, they're all making above $30 million. So wherever the deal comes in, whether it's 30, 32, 34, figure it out. Continue the continuity that you have in Washington, because right now the Commanders are everybody's darling pick. They got a lot of momentum. They got a lot of positive national momentum. And the last thing you want to do is create a negative controversy on the side as you go into training camp. I think Washington and Adam Peters, they've done everything right so far. Continue this, get this deal done, whether it comes in at 32, 34, 35, whatever the number is, Tim, I think you got to pay him, because his production, not only on your team, but in the league, says so.
Yeah, and Boog, how about this? He's also one of your good guys. You know, like this reminds me of the Trey Hendrickson situation in Cincinnati, and the fact that, like, look, he's been a team guy. He's been a leader. He's been great in the community when things were not good. Like, he's kind of risen above, kind of the disaster that's been there, as alluded to in terms of what was going on in Washington in the early part of his career. So here you go. You got basically a star wide receiver, a true number one. Like, yes, he's around 30 years old, but like also the reality is he's been an incredible leader, and he doesn't come with some of the baggage that other elite wide receivers come with. I think that's some of the frustration. Like, to me, when I hear Terry McLaurin talk, it reminds me a little bit of hearing Trey talk, where we'd be like, wait a minute, I've done everything right. Like, why is this not moving faster? That's what it feels like to me.
We'll see if it gets moving as we get closer to training camp. John Keim will be all over this story for you. More news breaking on this Tuesday. The Jets giving out money this week. They signed star cornerback Sauce Gardner to a contract extension just within the last about hour and a half. This comes a day after they agreed to an extension with wide receiver Garrett Wilson. So two cornerstones of the 2022 NFL Draft. They're just one of four duos to win offensive and defensive Rookie of the Year in the same year for the same team. Gardner was the first team All-Pro as a rookie, and in 2023 as well. So, Boog, Jets giving out money. What do you make of the Sauce Gardner signing?
Yeah, I mean, this was only a formality. I think we all knew it was coming. If you look at what he's done, Gross, since he's been in the league, he's been one of the better corners in the league. And the longer you wait, the more the price goes up. Somebody tell Washington that when it comes to Terry McLaurin. But he earned this deal, and you knew a couple of months ago when we saw Derek Stingley Jr. from the Texans get paid and the number came in at $30 million a year or whatever, you knew at some point Sauce Gardner was going to come in at 30.1. We'll see where Trent McDuffie comes in at, the corner for the Kansas City Chiefs. But all these guys are bright young cornerbacks in the National Football League. And when you look at Sauce, a guy that can play man-to-man, and we know that the new head coach, Aaron Glenn, a former defensive back, he recognizes game. And the fact that they pay him now, once they get Aaron Glenn, should be another notch in the belt for Sauce Gardner. But job well done, young man. Now, they're paying you this money not for what you've done, but what you can do. Now you got to go out and earn it, because a lot of teams are going to go after Sauce Gardner now and see if he can earn that money.
New coach, new GM in New York. They did not just Gardner, but as we mentioned, Garrett Wilson yesterday, another one of their young stars. What does that tell you about where things stand with a team that hasn't made the postseason since 2010?
I think when you look at this, Grass, they're starting to lock up some of their young players. Yeah. And I get it. Regardless of who the coach or who the GM is, they understand who are going to be your key players. Is this a finished championship roster? By no means. But you got some young cornerstones when you look at Garrett Wilson. You look at Sauce Gardner. They got some other guys when you look at McDonald and Jermaine Johnson. A lot of other young players that they want to keep around to build the core of this football team.
Yeah, so maybe the future could be bright in New York for the Jets. We have a lot more to get to today on NFL Live. Aaron Rodgers, the king of the Hail Mary, but his success in Pittsburgh a long shot for him and the Steelers. We have one person here who thinks it might be easier than it looks. Stay tuned to find out why. Plus, Caleb Williams looks to take over the North with the help of new head coach Ben Johnson. We have to camp in Latrobe next week. I know you'll be there. What will Aaron Rodgers find there that might surprise him?
Well, Mina just used the phrase 42 years old and uncomfortable together, and something else that is going to make a 42-year-old uncomfortable is sleeping in an XL twin bed is what he'll be doing, because when the Steelers report to Latrobe, the players live in the dorms. There has been, I believe, one exception of a guy that didn't stay in the dorms one time. That was Antonio Brown. I think that is an exception, not the rule in this situation. And not only is Rodgers going to be in a dorm bed, but he's also going to be practicing at the hottest part of the day. Mike Tomlin moved practice back to 1:55, goes from 1:55 to 4 p.m. When he was in Green Bay and in New York, his practices were mid-morning, which is when they were last year in Latrobe, by the way. But Mike Tomlin was asked, hey, why'd you shift practices back to the afternoon? And he said, well, it wasn't hot enough. It wasn't miserable enough. So I don't know if Aaron Rodgers enjoys being miserable. I can tell you, though, related to the beds, when he was in Green Bay, he was so vocal about sleeping in hotel beds before home games in a way that he did not want to. He said, I have a nice mattress at home. I want to sleep in that one. That instead, Matt LaFleur made it so that vets did not have to sleep at the hotels the night before games. And now Aaron Rodgers is going to be in a twin XL mattress in a dorm room. Maybe he can bring his own, but it's going to be an adjustment.
Hey, Brooke, I love you, Brooke, because that is some detailed reporting. Let me shed a little light on this. Number one, anytime you go to the dorm and move in the dorm room, Aaron Rodgers has made enough money, he can bring his own bed, pay somebody to come in there, bring it, set it up, and clean his room every night. So I'm not concerned about the bed. As far as the time of day, it can be 110 degrees. He's a quarterback. Tim can tell you this. Ain't nobody touching him during practice whatsoever anyway. He's not going to even have his chin strap buckled. So the fact that it's 105 degrees does not affect the quarterback. It's going to affect the big dudes on the offense and the defensive line. So cry me a pity party for a guy that's made $250 million, who's got to bring his own mattress in, and he's got to come out and stand around during the hottest part of the day. I love the reporting, Brooke, but cry me a river. Come on now.
Let me tell you, I learned this early on. I learned that the last thing a quarterback needs to do is whine about training camp with a bunch of 300-pounders with a bunch of equipment on, leaning on each other all afternoon. Like, that is the worst mistake ever. Listen, Book probably lost 10 pounds of sweat every practice. So like, that's not, like,
no question.
All quarterbacks need to stay away from that one, because he's exactly right. The chin strap is not buckled. There's a few water breaks. QB Indy is a little bit different than what Book was going through. And look, and I think for Aaron Rodgers, like at this point, how that team is built, what Pittsburgh wants. Look, here's what, like, they just need to get good, solid, consistent quarterback play. Does he need to be an MVP candidate? No. But can Aaron Rodgers, you know, have a season where he throws 30 touchdowns and 5 interceptions? He's absolutely capable of that. And if you get that type of production and don't put your defense in a bad spot, Pittsburgh can be pretty dangerous.
I want to make Booger happy, Brooke, by asking you about a guy on defense, TJ Watt. His contract extension situation continues to linger as camp is just around the corner. What do you expect to happen next week with TJ Watt, if anything?
Well, I'm going to give Booger a little bit more detailed reporting here. When the Steelers report, they drive up to the dorm and carry their stuff in, but it's kind of a long driveway. You can see the cars come in from a little bit of ways. So that's what we're going to be doing Wednesday morning, is keeping an eye on those cars to see what's driving in. I'm going to be looking to see if TJ Watt's SUV is coming down the driveway, because it didn't park in the parking lot at minicamp in Pittsburgh. And that's a sign to me that this contract negotiation is very contentious. This is not a done deal. The Steelers typically try to run out the clock and get these deals done right before the start of the regular season. Once week 1 hits, they do not negotiate contracts. So it's not even an arbitrary deadline. That is their drop dead deadline. So we'll see if he shows up. Maybe he can help move Aaron Rodgers' mattress into the building.
Maybe they'll put that in the contract, and that'll help get it done. Who knows? There's a lot going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have failed to win a playoff game in 8 straight seasons, which is their longest such drought since the 1970 merger. So a lot still has to come together there. Brooke Pryor will be following it all for you on ESPN. The Sports Humanitarian Awards, now in their 11th year. They're a platform that celebrates the athletes, teams, and sports industry professionals who make an impact on their communities and throughout the world. The Indianapolis Colts are a finalist for Team of the Year for their initiative to help raise awareness about mental health disorders. Here's a look at some of the work the Colts have done.
Indianapolis Colts. The Colts launched Kicking the Stigma in 2020 to combat negative perceptions towards mental health and improve access to care. A personal mission for the Irsay family, it combined donations with storytelling to raise awareness nationwide. To date, the team has committed over $31 million and helped launch a mental health research institute. They also fund training, public education, and outreach to underserved communities to support better mental health for all.
The 2025 ESPYs are Wednesday, July 16th. That's tomorrow night at 8 p.m. on ABC and streaming on ESPN+. They'll be available to stream on demand the next day on Disney+, Hulu, and ESPN+. Still ahead today on NFL Live. After losing the most sought-after coordinators in the NFL, Dan Campbell will have to survive and adapt. Hear what the Lions have planned, which is a loaded division. Put 3 teams in the playoffs last year, and all 4 teams have high hopes for this year. So let's run through it, starting in Green Bay. One of the Packers' goals is going to be to play better against the top competition in the NFC. Last year, Green Bay was 0-6 against the top 3 teams in the NFC and 11-1 against everyone else in the league. Jordan Love had no touchdowns and 3 interceptions in the season-ending playoff loss to the eventual Super Bowl champion Eagles. Green Bay putting up a season-low 10 points in that wild card game defeat. So Rob Domofsky, who covers the Packers for us, is here. Rob, Jordan Love looked like maybe took something of a step back last year, according to the numbers we're looking at least. What are the Packers saying about where he is in his development?
Well, I'll tell you what, Dan. Don't tell Jordan Love he took a step back without being prepared to back it up. And that's noteworthy because he never challenges anything. But for the first time since he's been in Green Bay, including the 2 years that he's been a starter, he fought back on that idea this offseason. And he said, what is a step back? I mean, we won more games than we did the year before. So I ask you, what is a step back? But Matt LaFleur, his coach, knows that it's out there. He even said there is this perception for whatever reason that he wasn't as productive. The reason might have been, according to LaFleur, that he had that knee injury in week 2, but he had a lot of time to recover from that, and he was only so-so for the rest of the way. Now, this is year 3 for him as a starter, and we all know what Aaron Rodgers did in year 3, right? Super Bowl.
Yeah. Booger?
Yeah, I don't know if when we talk about a step back, I think we need to talk about the step forward because that's where he needs to go. Because he's been given his money. They continue to go out and surround him with weapons. They took Matthew Golden from Texas in the first round, who ran 4.29, so a lot of speed. You're going to get Christian Watson back at some point. They got a plethora of wide receivers. So at what point, if you're Jordan Love, can you continue to take that next step? Matt LaFleur, one of the better play callers in the National Football League. So if I were him, I wouldn't even be concerned about a step back. How can you continue to take the step forward? Because that's where your pace says you need to be. And that's where the team says you need to be in order for them to take the next step.
It's worth noting the Packers had the youngest roster in the league last year with an average age under 26. He's the mayor, Rob Domofsky. We're going to go to Minnesota now. The runway is clear for J.J. McCarthy to finally see some regular season action after he missed his entire rookie season with a torn meniscus sustained in last year's preseason. McCarthy, just the 4th top 10 quarterback this century who didn't make any starts at all as a rookie, and the first one of those in 13 years. We are joined now by Ben Solak and our Vikings reporter, Kevin Seifert, covering all things Vikings. Excuse me. Kevin, the story of the Vikings offseason is the change under center. Sam Darnold off to Seattle. J.J. McCarthy taking over. What are you seeing on the ground there?
2 things, arm strength and personal magnetism. To the extent that people thought that J.J. McCarthy's arm strength was not up to par, from what they saw at Michigan. I know there was some pre-draft analysis that suggested that. I did not see that during minicamp, during OTAs. The ball was being delivered on time, with strength, with velocity. And just don't take my word for it. Asking Justin Jefferson about it, who I think is kind of more important than my take, he said if he had one thing that he learned about J.J. McCarthy this offseason, it was that his arm strength is plenty good and will get him the ball wherever he needs it. If anything, he needs to slow the ball down a little bit and put some more touch on it. And the personal magnetism thing, J.J. McCarthy is somebody who I think we found out that people want to be around, they want to talk to, they want to be led by, they want to entrust the team to. People in Michigan probably know that already and that watched his career there. But I think that already has taken place in the Vikings locker room. And again, don't take it from me. Harrison Smith, their 36-year-old safety, who's a decade and a half older than J.J. McCarthy. They have lockers right next to each other in the locker room. And he said that he is a very interesting fellow. And he likes spending time with him. And if you pass the Harrison Smith test in the Vikings locker room, you're doing okay.
Yeah, having the traits is great for the rookie, but we talk about young quarterbacks. Destination is destiny, right? A lot of it is that landing spot where you grow. And we know the Vikings are about as QB-proof as it gets in the NFL. You have Justin Jefferson, best receiver in football, Jordan Addison and T.J. Hockenson as the secondary options. But what interests me is the fact that they really want to run the ball this year. You go back to that Michigan offense that J.J. played in. Kevin O'Connell talking this offseason, we need to be better on early downs. And that's the proof of the pudding is in their offseason, right? A whole new interior guard to guard. Donovan Jackson, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries. We're going to run the football. Trade for Jordan Mason. This team last year was second in pass rate over expectation with Sam Darnold. They threw the ball a ton. And for a rookie quarterback, you don't want to put him in those third and longs where he's going to get those big blitzes. So they're going to, I think, run the football a lot more and keep the plate for JJ small at first and then grow as the season goes on.
He'll try to keep it on track. Vikings won 14 games last year, second most in a season in their franchise history. That's Minnesota. We head to Detroit now, where head coach Dan Campbell lost both offensive and defensive coordinators to head coaching positions. Not unprecedented to have success after losing coordinators on both sides of the ball. Each of the last 3 teams to be in that position won double-digit games on their way to playoff appearances. So Detroit looking to do more than just make a playoff appearance. They're looking for a deeper run. The coordinator change is going to affect the Bears as well, as Detroit's offensive coordinator was Ben Johnson, who's now the head coach of the Bears. And to talk about all of that, we have our Lions reporter, Eric Woodyard, and our Bears reporter, Courtney Cronin, with us now. So, Eric, what's the feeling in New York after losing both coordinators? How are they moving forward?
They're moving forward like it's winning a Super Bowl right now. I mean, Dan Campbell and these guys, although they lost both coordinators, they feel like the DNA has been built. Although Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson have gone, they feel like they're bringing in guys that they're familiar with Kelvin Shepard. They brought in John Morton as well, an offensive coordinator, and they feel like they can win right now. I feel like the nucleus is built. You know, that's Dan Campbell's mentality. This nucleus is built, and they're also healthy as well. They're feeling fairly healthy coming into the year. Aiden Hutchinson obviously was a front runner for Defensive Player of the Year last year. He's cleared to go. He's ready to go. I also spoke with Amon-Ra St. Brown. He had an off-season knee surgery, and he's feeling like he said he's ready to go. He should be ready to go for day one of camp. And guys are just ready to go. They're locked in, and it's Super Bowl or now. That's how they feel.
Yeah, last season ended a lot earlier than the Lions wanted it to, and they'll have to make do without offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, who's now the head coach of the team you covered, Courtney. What is Ben Johnson doing to help second-year quarterback Caleb Williams in his development?
Well, they tried to spend the spring finding out Caleb's weaknesses and his strengths. There are a number of different ways they did that. They would give him long play calls. They would give him multiple plays at the line of scrimmage. They would go tempo. And there was a specific emphasis placed on the red zone offense, the type of throws that they want Caleb to make in a condensed window. Front pylon, back line, front line, all of it in a tight area. And Ben Johnson noting that creating an efficient red zone offense takes a whole ton of time. So that's why they wanted to have a lot of work done there during the spring. And there's about 1 or 2 throws from every practice that Johnson said stood out to him about Williams. And the thing that he knew coming into this job is what makes Caleb so special, the ability to create out of structure and make this offense right when a play breaks down.
I want to bring in our quarterback now, Tim Hasselbeck. What does Ben Johnson mean to a young quarterback?
Yeah, he comes in with instant credibility in terms of what he did in Detroit, the creativity, what he's done for Jared Goff in his career. And so I think that right off the bat, establishes trust. But I think we're going to see him do things to make Caleb Williams a little bit more of a traditional quarterback, playing under center, finding ways to get easy completions, some move the pocket type stuff. And then, the stuff we all talk about, the kind of the icing on the cake is the creativity, and the timing of calling those plays. So I think that's, kind of what he brings to the table, especially as a play caller in game. And I think it'll take some time to see it, but I think it'll be felt immediately by Caleb Williams and the guys on that offense.
NFC North going to be wild this year, no doubt about it, thanks to all 4 of the stars we have covering the division for us at ESPN NFL Nation. When we come back on NFL Live, a defensive player has never won the ESPY's Best NFL Player Award. Could this be the year that changes? We have the exclusive reveal of the ESPY for 2025 Best NFL Player when we come back on NFL Live.
Barry down the middle of the field. Barry with the score.
My name is Damian Barry. I'm an athlete, and I play for Metro Select.
What a play by Barry.
That's the kid to watch.
It's Barry again.
He is a next-level athlete.
I started playing when I was like 5, and I started going to tournaments. I got really good, and I just kept playing because it got fun.
He's going to take it to the house.
How good is this kid here? Flag is very exciting. Anything can happen at any moment.
A pick 6.
When I play, I just like to shine.
Catch more from Daniel Berry at the Flag Football Championships Friday through Sunday on ESPN and ABC. Additional coverage comes your way each day on ESPN+, ESPN Deportes, Disney+, and NFL+. For more information, go to nflflag.com. Back to school time in El Segundo. The Chargers veterans head to camp tomorrow. They are the first of the 32 teams to report because they're only going to be 15 days away from the Hall of Fame game, July 31st against the Lions in Canton. probably not going to see much, if any, of quarterback Justin Herbert in that game. But we want to talk about Justin Herbert because as part of our Jeremy Fowler's top 10 quarterbacks rankings list that came out Monday, Herbert came in at number 7, and a veteran NFC personnel evaluator had this to say about Justin, quote, "The offense he currently plays in is by far the least QB friendly in terms of the passing game, which doesn't help him. Justin can get there. He has the ability, so it should come in time." And to discuss this further, we welcome in NFL Nation Chargers reporter Chris Rim. You're there every single day. You were there every single day last year. You saw what the offense was like. You see how it's coming together this offseason. What are you expecting from the Chargers offense?
Yeah, some of that quote is correct, right? The Chargers need someone not named Ladd McConkey to step up in the offense, right? That Texans loss was the greatest example of that. Ladd McConkey had 8 catches for 197 yards and a touchdown. All other Chargers receivers combined for 14 yards in that game, right? So the Chargers are looking for Quentin Johnson to step up this year in the passing game. They want their pass catchers to be more dynamic on 50-50 balls. That's why they drafted second-round pick Trey Harris and signed wide receiver Mike Williams. Now, they will be without Trey Harris, who's currently holding out. The rookie, is an unsigned player right now among with all second-round picks. And Mike Williams is on the physically unable to perform list.
Yeah. It's Chargers. Boog, what are you expecting to see from the Chargers offense in the second year with Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman?
Well, you got to understand who you're playing for. And when you look at Jim Harbaugh, we know he wants to run the football. Greg Roman, they want to run the football. They want to be physical. Now, what that's going to do is that's going to force defenses to play a single high safety. It's going to create a lot of play action passes, and it's going to define a lot of throws. When you look at that quote, and Tim can do a better job than I explaining it, it's not a quarterback-friendly offense because you're not coming out in 11 personnel, 3-4 wide receivers every play and get to throw it 50 times. This is an offense that's going to be ball control, run the football. We're going to force the safety to come down. We're going to create play action, and we're going to take shots down the field. Justin Herbert is a really good quarterback. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to become more accurate down the football field, and they need other weapons to step up. So the offense is what the offense is. We've seen this offense go to a Super Bowl before when Colin Kaepernick was the quarterback running the football. It's a really good offense. You just have to be very precise, very accurate, and you have to take advantage of your opportunities in this offense if you're Justin Herbert.
We'll see, Charger. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, Boog, I think the way I would just jump in, like quarterback friendly, look, so the Dolphins quarterback friendly because Tua can throw for 5,000 yards, that's great. But if what quarterback friendly is to me anyhow is run the football, be physical, create opportunities. Like Philadelphia, I think is quarterback friendly. That's a quarterback friendly offense because they run the heck out of the football.
All right, we'll keep an eye on the Chargers again, maybe a little ahead of schedule. We'll see what they have for an encore this year. With the 2025 ESPYs taking place tomorrow, it's time for our ESPYs moment presented by Capital One, as we will announce the winner of the award for Best NFL Player. You can take a look here at the nominees: Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Surtain II. And now you know the nominees. The winner is Saquon Barkley. Huge year for Saquon continues. Boog, you agree with the pick?
Yeah, I agree with it. Anytime you rush for 2,000 yards and you dominate the way that he did, I think you deserve it. Some people thought he should have been the MVP, but the quarterback is always going to win that award. So if you can't win the MVP, I like it upon Disney and the ESPYs of giving Saquon the best NFL player. He had a historic season. He got paid in the offseason. It's been a tremendous year. Now he's got his offensive line back again, and can he go out and do it again? But to answer your question, Graz, very well-deserved award for Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, move to Philly has definitely worked out for Saquon. The 2025 ESPYs, Wednesday, July 16th. That's tomorrow night at 8 p.m. on ABC and streaming on ESPN+. Available to stream on demand the next day on Disney+, Hulu, and ESPN+. The ESPYs benefit the V Foundation for Cancer Research. To support, visit v.org/donate. Still to come on NFL Live, is Jalen Hurts only the 9th best quarterback in the NFL? Our crew will weigh in on the ranking, plus a special guest who knows the Eagles as well as anybody is going to join us right here on set. That's next. You're watching NFL Live. Off-season series ranking positions around the NFL made it to quarterbacks this week, which always is a lot of fun. Jeremy spoke with executives, coaches, and scouts league-wide And this is where they landed with their list. You see Patrick Mahomes at the top, followed by Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Are the AFC quarterbacks any good right now? Like, seriously. Reigning Offensive Player of the Year, Jaden Daniels rounds out the top 5, and you saw Super Bowl champion Jalen Hurts all the way down there at 9, and his coach, Nick Sirianni, had a pointed response to the notion that Hurts was just along for the ride last year. He said, I think that's bulls. Is that what he said, bulls? No, there's something else to that. I think there's bull something. I mean, he plays the most important position in all of sports, and it's the most ultimate team game there is. What I admire about him is his selflessness of doing anything we need to win. Joined now by the one, the only Sal Paolantonio, as well as Ben Solak, who was with us earlier. Sal, when you see those comments from Sirianni, what do you make of them?
Well, I think he's sticking up for his quarterback, obviously, Dan, no question about it. And I think there are 31 other teams that would love to have Jalen Hurts in their locker room. I've been around this young man since the day he was drafted, and I can tell you his influence on the team, his impact on the team goes way beyond what happens on the football field. He is a real gentleman, a great leader. He pushes his teammates in a way that gets the most out of them, and they get the most out of him. I was taught by Ron Jaworski, another guy who played quarterback in Philadelphia a long time ago. Hey, quarterback is the most dependent position in the National Football League. You put a great offensive line there, a big offensive line. A good quarterback will do great things when he has a running back and good wide receivers. Who else would you have throw that bomb, that dime, that dagger down the field in the Super Bowl to Devontae Smith against the Kansas City Chiefs? He hit that thing right on the money.
I think I'd rather have Mahomes and Lamar and Josh Allen. I think it's a justified spot at 9. I do. We talk about that on-field play, right? Jalen Hurts this year in the Eagles offense, they were the 4th highest team in run rate over expected. They handed the football off a ton to Saquon Barkley, and he's excellent. That offensive line is excellent. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, both top 10 receivers by catch rate over expectation. Yeah, Jalen's throwing the ball well, but they're making excellent catches down there also. This was unquestionably a super duper team. And so it's hard to take Jalen and place him above such quarterbacks as the elite guys, but also your Justin Herberts, who don't have those elite players, those highly paid guys, above your Jared Goffs, right, who've grown so much over time. I get why he's ranked there at 9. He certainly can race. He's gotten better every single year, but I understand his spot.
Sure, and that's part of the issue, right? With these kinds of rankings, you have to judge these guys, Tim, based on the group around them and all that. So as our resident quarterback, what do you think of where Jalen Hurts came in on this survey?
Yeah, look, I think it's generally fine. Like a couple of spots, move him up to 7, move some guys in front of him, down. But I think generally speaking, I think it's a fair ranking. But I think it's really important what Sal brought up. Okay, if you were to do a quarterback challenge, I'm not sure he'd be the 9th best in the league. But to me, he strikes me as a guy that kind of has almost like Eli Manning type, leadership qualities about him. And I say that because I used to say with Eli, you never knew if he won the lottery or if his dog died. Like he was so steady, and no matter what was going on around him, he just was unfazed by it. To me, that's Jalen Hurts. Yeah. All these different coordinators, a head coach that's pretty emotional and will get fired up, and Jalen Hurts, answering questions of people being critical of him and how good is he, whatever it is. He's just got this steady leadership about him that I think is remarkable. And look, as important as the quarterback position is, and as physical as it is, I think there are other aspects of it that are equally as important, assuming you can make all the throws, which he can do.
Leave it to us to come up with an individual list from a team game. And, I always feel like anytime you look at a list, criteria is important. What is the criteria? We just ranking the top 10 quarterbacks based on talent? Are we ranking the top 10 quarterbacks based on how they can run an offense? If you look at it individually, is he the 9th most individually gifted quarterback in the National Football League? That's probably about right. But if you say, what quarterback can run the offense at the highest level in a system, he might deserve to go number 2 right behind Patrick Mahomes, because if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles system, how they run the football, the play action, how they lean on the quarterback run game, the way he moves the chains with the first down, the tush push, you got to add all that in there, Sal, when you look at how he's asked to perform within the system that Nick Sirianni has created. There's probably no better quarterback in football than Jalen Hurts outside of Patrick Mahomes. So criteria is important, guys. What are the qualifications for this list? I get it. For the sake of conversation, I love when we come out this list. Leave it to ESPN to create their own content and then have a show about the backlash from the content. I love it. I think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. And Sal, hello to you and hello to Ben also.
Hey, Boog, I'm hearing you. And Ben, you gave us a lot of nice next-gen stats. But the most important stat in football is scoring the football, scoring touchdowns. The Eagles outscored their opponents by 95 points in the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. That's the highest in those two games in the Super Bowl era. I was always taught by Bill Parcells, the number one job of the quarterback is to put the team in the end zone, and in the critical moments, championship moments against the best teams and the best players, Jalen Hurts did that. Not just last year, but 2 of the last 3 years. He outplayed Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. His ranking is way too low in my mind.
Yeah, Bill Parcells didn't teach me anything. I haven't had much time yet with Bill. But I will tell you that Jalen Hurts this year had 68 total passing attempts, trailing in the second half, only 13 of which came after that Week 5 bye. So you're right, the good quarterbacks win games. The Eagles did so by generating a lead in the first half and then sitting on the ball in the second half. So when it comes to ranking top 10 quarterbacks, there's information about Jalen Hurts in 2024 that we didn't get relative to the other guys. That's why I understand the list for as impressive as the season was.
It's just amazing. And when you talk about quarterbacks, we can talk about the numbers, we can talk about the game results, but we talk about the intangibles too. And obviously, Jalen Hurts has a lot of that, makes these lists
got a trophy too.
A lot of fun. Yeah, it took a couple
helps.
of them. Hey, Booger, we got another list for you. Bill Barnwell had an article that came out today ranking the top 25 teams since the year 2000. Booger, do you know anything about that team ranked number 6 on the list?
Oh, yeah. How about
02
that?
Buccaneers?
Look at that.
I like it. That team ranked number 6 is way too low because we had a defense. And I know some people don't like it, but we can stop a lot of people. Go ask the St. Louis Rams and the greatest show on turf.
You're right there behind the Nick Foles Super Bowl champion Eagles. Would you have liked to crack at them for a chance to move up the list?
Would have loved to crack it. I would have loved to crack at anybody on that list, baby. Defense still wins.
Outstanding. Good memories for Booger of the great Buccaneers team of 2002. Hey, that was a lot of fun. We had a whole bunch of people. Thanks to all of our NFL Nation reporters who joined us. We had a great time on NFL Live. We'll be back tomorrow.
I need a cheesesteak, Sal.